It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's a Monster Monday presented by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Now I'm a broadcaster, podcaster, speaker. I absolutely love this show. It's daily. It's 30 minutes or less, and it gives you everything you need to know what's going on around the NFL. Most of you have already seen a lot of the highlights of the games. I'm just going to tell you the things that stood out to me, the things that really matter moving forward. Tuck's takes from those games, so to speak. Then we'll get into some of the bigger themes over the weekend as well. We actually start with that. And then we'll do the college draft podcast today. Gets you ready for the biggest games in college football, the prospects that you can watch, kind of like homework, if you will, for the NFL. And obviously, if you like to bet on these games, Emory Hunt is all over that on the college draft podcast as well. Every week, I absolutely love announcing winners because it means two things. It means I get to send you something cool, like a signed picture of me. It's like an 8x10 I get, or 4x6 maybe. I don't even know what size it is. A signed card, which is really cool, or one of these awesome press passes that nobody you know has. Nobody you know has ever even seen one, and you're going to get a personalized signed one as long as you spread the word via social media on any of our social media platforms like Twitter or Instagram, where it's at Ross Tucker NFL or at Ross Tucker Pod. You know what I'm going to do this week? Someone that quote tweets at Ross Tucker Pod. So there you go. Quote tweet at Ross Tucker Pod with one of the episodes that you like. Say something, quote tweet it. And then from there, first of all, you probably get a retweet from at Ross Tucker Pod on Twitter. Secondly, you get a great chance to be the Spread the Word winner this week and get something really cool. Sponsor confirmation email winner. We got some new incredible sponsors this week. Love it. Sling TV, Masterworks, Game Time app, which is incredible. Very excited about that. Take advantage of some of these new sponsors and the new codes I'm going to tell you about this week. And then you can get a little something. You can actually go ahead and get a chance to ask me a question that I will definitely answer on the show. And you might get a little something extra. And then the YouTube shout out's cool. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Love those of you that subscribe to our YouTube channel. Great way to see the highlight clips of the other shows. Or some people like to watch this show now, which is great. Our numbers are going up on YouTube, which makes sense. YouTube is growing fast. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Speaking of growing fast, how about our patrons? Patreon.com/RT Media. Chris Brown is the latest one. I don't know if you guys want the press box food grades, the power rankings, the picks Friday. A lot of you just want the even money bets, which, by the way, another epic weekend for me and Steve on the even money bet. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, I think I sound like a broken record every Monday morning, Ross. So
change it up. Figure it out. Change it up.
What's that?
I said change it up. Figure something else out. What do you got?
What you got? What do you got? What are your overall themes for Week 4 in the NFL?
I like it. Well, so there's a lot of continued fallout from what happened with Tua Tagovailoa. Not surprised. I got to tell you, I feel like I was ahead of this last Monday when I talked about this. And again on Friday. This is a huge topic. You know how many people have brought this up to me? People that never bring up football to me. A lot have brought up this topic with me. Went to dinner Saturday night. The wife brought it up. I mean, when I was at West Point, I saw them Friday talking about, or maybe Saturday morning, talking about on CNN. It's a really, really big deal. DeMaurice Smith is fired up about it. J.C. Treader, the NFLPA president, had issued a statement on it, and the first domino to fall is that the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant who's jointly hired by the NFL and NFLPA for every stadium has been terminated by the NFLPA after the NFLPA found that there were several issues, several things that took place that should not have. Not a big surprise. Also, I feel like in the next couple of days, there will be a new policy. And the policy will say that if there's any, gross motor issue, AKA stumbling, they're out. Whether the player says it's a head injury or not, if there's any gross motor instability, they are out. Feels like somebody else might have said that recently. Feels like that might have been somebody else's idea. Exactly. It was me, and it was. And that's exactly what they should do. Because you know what? I'm going to guess 99.9% of the time, gross motor instability is because of a head injury. So if the guy says it's something else, they're probably lying. Get them out. Thank you. That will probably come down the pike in the next couple of days. And when it does, I'll talk more about it. Look, I talked about it a lot on Monday, a lot on Friday. I'm not going to belabor the point again on another Monday. We've got a lot of NFL games to talk about, and we're going and making steps in the right direction. Although I will have something to say about the Bucs game a little bit later. Other themes, weather a major factor in several games. Major. Baltimore, Philadelphia, certainly New York. But in Philadelphia, man, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles appeared to deal with the weather a lot better than Trevor Lawrence. 4 fumbles. He missed a bunch of throws. Trevor, I thought he had really big hands. He really struggled with the weather where it just kind of poured all game. And I like it, by the way. We put a poll question out at Ross Tucker Pod, which you need to go to anyway because you're gonna win the Spread the Word winner thing this week if you quote tweet it. But whether or not you like weather being a factor, I do. I like weather being a factor. I think it's one of the things that makes football unique. I think it's one of the things that adds intrigue. And it's cool. Every game is sort of a unique entity unto itself, right? You spend the whole week with a plan. It's like a battle plan, and you go into battle with a plan. I like that the elements can affect the plan. I like that that's a part of the planning process. We had an incredible game in London. I'm curious to know how many of you guys went to the game. How many of our diehards over there across the pond, like Tim Bacon, went to the game? I know Tim normally does. I'd love to know. I know that what a great game. Vikings, Saints, back and forth, double doink to end it. That was awesome. And then the last theme of the week, I'd say, was just it was a big day for backup quarterbacks. Brian Hoyer goes down, so Bailey Zappi comes in. Mitch Trubisky gets benched for Kenny Pickett. And the Giants, Daniel Jones hurt his ankle. Then Tyrod Taylor got a head injury. Next thing you know, Saquon is taking direct snaps, which is wild. Absolutely wild to see that. To see Saquon having to take direct snaps because the first 2 quarterbacks both went down. Really, really interesting. You know what else I learned over the weekend? The coolest app for getting tickets I've ever seen. Absolutely the best app. As soon as I had heard about the Game Time app before, but as soon as I knew they were sponsoring it, I downloaded the Game Time app on my phone. It is ridiculous. So I did this Saturday morning, okay? You could get tickets Saturday morning. And this is what's so cool. They know where you're at. So they literally list the best tickets they have for the best games closest to where you are. So I'm looking at the app in West Point, and it had $3 tickets for Georgia State Army. You know how cool it is to go to a Georgia State Army game? To go to an Army game at Mikey Stadium? It is really cool. To be able to go that morning for $3, honestly, You all need to do what I did. Get the Game Time app on your phone, and every day, or at least every couple days, just see all the stuff they have. I mean, I could get tickets to tonight's Sixers preseason game for $10. And by the way, I'm a huge fan, any sport, of preseason NFL, because you can get much more affordable tickets. You can take the whole family, enjoy the experience, usually not as crowded. Do what I did. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and if you use the code Ross, you get $20 off your first purchase. So how do you get $20 off of a $10 ticket or $20 off of a $3 ticket? You're going for free. Again, that's Ross for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, and this is the key, lowest price guarantee. That's Ross, the Game Time app.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, let's start with that double doink in England. Will Lutz hits a 60-yard field goal and then clanks it for the attempted 61-yarder as time expired. Vikings win over the Saints 28-25 at Tottenham.
So huge fan of the 9:30 game because I'm not a fan. I just don't consume pregame shows. I'm just not a big pregame show guy. So love having that game on. I was actually doing the pregame radio for the Eagles while I was watching it. I don't consume pregame television. I think pregame radio while you're driving to the game, pregame radio while you're tailgating, that's perfect. But I'm not going to sit there and watch pregame TV very often. The Saints, it's getting late for them, man. I mean, 1-3, and they're still banged up. No Jameis Winston, no Michael Thomas, no Alvin Kamara. And frankly, they were incredibly fortunate to win that first game against the Falcons. Incredibly fortunate. Speaking of fortune, Lewis Seen, very unfortunate. The first-round pick for the Vikings, very serious injury, having surgery over in London right now. The team medical staff staying there with him before he flies back. Hope he's okay. That's scary, very scary. I thought there were some questionable calls against the Saints that helped the Vikings. You know, you're always taught as a player, and I've said this before, don't let it come down to the refs. Be better than the refs can. Don't allow the refs to be in a position to determine the outcome of the game. Justin Jefferson had a big day for the Vikings as usual. That's always a little interesting, right? Like, obviously, the Vikings are doing whatever they can to get him the ball, but you would think the Saints would do a better job of not letting him beat them. I thought Dalton was okay. Andy Dalton, thought he was okay for the Saints. I think, they really rode Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray without Kamara, which is interesting. And Lutz crushed a 60-yarder. And then he crushed that 61-yarder. That hit high. That would have been good. That would have been like an NFL record length. But if it was a 60-yarder again, it would have bounced off and in. But because it was 61, it bounced off the upright, off the crossbar. Crazy, crazy ending. I hope the folks over there across the pond felt like they got their money's worth, because that was a heck of a game.
Atlanta Falcons knock off the Browns 23-20. Caleb Huntley promoted from the practice squad. He has 10 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown in the win for Atlanta.
What game were you at, Brian? Again, I forget.
I was in Baltimore.
Oh, right. So Myles Garrett was out. I guess he has a shoulder injury, but Myles Garrett was out for this game, which hurt the Browns, obviously. You know, NFL's crazy, man. You don't know Myles Garrett's going to get a car accident. Maybe that was the difference in the game. Thankfully, he's okay, because that obviously can be very scary. Flipped his car, and it didn't look good. But the Falcons, they pounded the ball down the Browns' throat. Nothing is more exhilarating as an offensive lineman. Nothing is more debilitating defeating and deflating for a defense, really a whole team, than when the other team can run the ball right down your throat. I called a couple of Caleb Huntley games, Bry, little Maction, when he was at Ball State. I'm not that surprised. This guy is a banger. I mean, he is thick. He's like 5'8", 220. He was like the Jerome Bettis of the MAC. And I love that Atlanta just rode him to another win. Kudos to Arthur Smith and the Falcons. He is a good coach because their roster is not that great.
Well, the Ravens blew a 17-point lead yesterday against the Bills. Buffalo wins 23-20.
That was probably the game of the day. What'd they have food-wise, Bry?
We did have breakfast stuff when I showed up. Eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, sausage, and cinnamon rolls. Actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big cinnamon roll guy.
But what I love about Baltimore is that when they go to halftime, it's a completely separate meal. It's not just, here's a hot dog. So at halftime, we had mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese with rigatoni pasta, which is pretty good. Chicken fingers, and as you're leaving the line, they're like, "Oh, would you like some crab cakes?" Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Nice. I will be there Sunday night. Bengals at Ravens. Looking forward to it. A little Sunday night radio for your boy Westwood One. So I'll be very curious to see what the Ravens have in store that night. The Ravens scored on their first 4 possessions. They had a 20-3 lead. Never did I think the Ravens would blow 2 big home leads like this to the Dolphins and the Bills. Really stunning. 20-3. I felt like Josh Allen just willed this Bills team back in this game. He was doing a lot of running, not afraid to get his nose dirty. I mean, he knew what he had to do to get them to win. It really started with that touchdown at the end of the first half. That was huge. I didn't have a huge problem with John Harbaugh going for it. A lot of people talking about it with 4 minutes left at the 2-yard line. Because if you kick the field goal there, I mean, look what happened with the Bills. They could have easily scored a touchdown. In fact, at the end of the game, the Ravens were trying to get them to score a touchdown. So I don't have a problem with Harbaugh going for it in that situation. The interception hurt, though. The interception hurt because then you lose the value of having the other team really pinned back. The thought is, worst case scenario, the Bills have the ball at the 2. Instead, the Bills got the ball at the 20. Big difference on that Jordan Poyer pick. Very smart of the Bills to not score a touchdown late, even though the Ravens were trying to let them. That way the Bills could run the entire clock out, and that way your boys' 2-unit bet on the Ravens getting 3.5 points could cash for even money where we're crushing it. I did think it was notable that J.K. Dobbins gave the Ravens a lift early in this game, both in the run and the pass. Good to see him back out there.
Cooper Rush improves to 4-0 as a starter. Cowboys over the Commanders 25-10.
I feel like every Cooper Rush game is the same. The Cowboys defense plays really, really well. They're all over the opposing quarterback. Cooper Rush is solid, not spectacular, not like so good that you're like, this guy's a starter. But he doesn't do the bad things that cause the team to lose. Michael Gallup was back, had a touchdown for the Cowboys, drew a couple pass interference penalties. That's big for Dallas. CeeDee Lamb had a nice day, including the touchdown down the seam. Trayvon Diggs had an awesome day for the Cowboys, who, as you might imagine, they were all over Carson Wentz. And Washington and Wentz were so worried about the sacks. They were just dinking and dunking. Wentz threw a couple picks. And not a good start to this year for Washington. Not a lot of hope for them right now.
High-scoring affair in Detroit as Geno Smith and the Seahawks get the win 48-45. Smith with 2 TDs in the air and another on the ground.
Man, if you would have told me that Seattle would beat the Lions 48-45, really bad loss for Detroit. When I was out there, and I'll be flying there again this week because I'm doing the Eastern Michigan at Western Michigan game on Saturday on TV. Shout out to my boy Joel Swisher for videoing some of it and posting to Twitter so I could retweet. Especially for the Lions. I know they didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown or DeAndre Swift. That's kudos to them for scoring 45 points, but those guys don't play defense. I cannot believe that the Lions defense gave up that many points to Seattle. Geno Smith is playing very well, both running and passing. Jared Goff lit up Seattle, especially to Hawkinson. But the difference in the game was the Tariq Woolen pick six, the rookie from UTSA. By the way, Rashad Penny, the running back for Seattle, I hope some of you guys got him on your fantasy team. You can talk about that with Joe Dolan this week. That dude has some legit burst.
Chargers improved to 2-2 with a 34-24 win in Houston. Austin Eckler with 3 scores.
Kudos to the Chargers offensive line. They lose Rashawn Slater probably for the season, but they still played well, very well. Jamari Salyer, the 6th-round pick from Georgia, holding it down at left tackle. I swear, though, the Chargers love drama. It's like it's like, you know what? We can't just blow them out. Let's let the Texans come back into it. Let's give Dameon Pierce a long touchdown run. Let's let Davis Mills have a nice touchdown pass. Pierce, by the way, had a really big day for fantasy folks, but ultimately not enough as the Texans defense couldn't get the stops they needed.
Derrick Henry rushed for a season-high 114 yards with a touchdown. Titans over the Colts in Indianapolis. The final there, 24-17.
Colts are just not good enough up front. Derrick Henry was much better, and the Titans were running the football than Jonathan Taylor was. Jonathan Taylor got banged up then, but his yards per carry the last couple of weeks has been awful. Henry was able to run it all over the Colts. Shaq Leonard got hurt again. The turnovers continue to kill the Colts. And Danico Autry, wow, man. That's one of the issues with letting a good player like that leave in free agency, especially to your own division like that. Danico Autry absolutely demonized his former team, the Colts, in this game.
Giants are now 3-1 after defeating the Bears 20-12. Both Giants quarterbacks injured during the game. You alluded to that earlier.
Wild. Daniel Jones actually made a bunch of plays with his legs in this game, which I think they need to incorporate more. You know, you need to treat Daniel Jones. He's not quite Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, but he moves well enough that for him to be considered a top 20 quarterback and maybe the answer in New York, his legs have to be a big part of it because he's just not good enough as a pocket passer. Saquon, by the way, is all the way back. Saquon is back to having a couple of really impressive runs, or just catches, anything, just the ball in his hands, like electric plays a week. Justin Fields, I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to make it. Still not looking that great. Getting sacked a lot. He did get Mooney involved. He had a beautiful bomb. But remember this. One bomb, okay, from Justin Fields where you're like, wow, what a throw. Oh, my gosh. That doesn't mean he's a good player. That means he has a strong arm and made a nice throw. I think sometimes we lose sight of that. Just like sometimes it feels like TV doesn't love us as much as we love them, right? Thankfully, did you know you can get the TV you love for a price you'll love? Thanks to my friends at Sling TV. Forget about all the high prices, all the endless contracts. Sling is the most valuable option when it comes to finding your favorite channels with the best deal for sports, news, entertainment. They have the best live TV content all in one place at the lowest price. That's the key. You can catch every touchdown every Sunday thanks to NFL Red Zone, available on Sling Blue Plus Sports Extra. It's easy to set up and use. And right now, they're going to let you try it for half off. Just visit sling.com to sign up today. Watch every touchdown live every Sunday afternoon with NFL Red Zone on Sling. For a limited time, that's like right now, get Sling Blue and add on Sports Extra with NFL Red Zone for half off your first month. So the regular price is $46, now only $23. Think about that. You get the best deal on Red Zone, so you can catch all the touchdowns at the lowest price with Sling TV. Visit sling.com/DraftKings to sign up today.
Doug Peterson returned to Philadelphia. Eagles, though, beat the Jags 29-21.
Awesome start for the Jaguars. Jalen Hurts made a really bad decision and throw on the Andre Cisco pick six. Then the Jags, next time they got the ball, went right down the field. Trevor Lawrence looking good, hitting Jamal Agnew. They need to give Jamal Agnew the ball more. Jamal Agnew, nobody could cover him. After that, second quarter, Eagles just kind of took over up front, both sides of the ball. O-line was awesome. Eagles ran the ball very well. Miles Sanders, career day. Jalen Hurts had all kinds of time to throw. The D-line got after Trevor Lawrence, who, as I mentioned earlier, just struggled to hold on to the ball. I mean, he didn't really give the Jags much of a chance after that with the 2 unforced error fumbles and then 2 Hassan Reddick fumbles as the Eagles just totally dominated after the Jags got up 14-0.
Kenny Pickett made his NFL debut for the Steelers, but the Jets came away with the win. The final in this one, 24-20.
Huge, ginormous win for the Jets, the exact opposite for the Steelers. Steelers were up 10, and they lost to the Jets at home. Zach Wilson caught a touchdown pass early on a Philly special from Berrios, but he didn't play very well in the first half. Steelers bench Pickett. He comes in, runs for a couple touchdowns, but also threw 3 interceptions. Wilson, this is the key to the game, though. Zach Wilson led the Jets on 2 70-plus yard touchdown drives after the Jets were down 20-10 and after he had, frankly, played poorly in the first half.
Kyler Murray's 3 touchdowns and Arizona's defense helped the Cardinals to a 26-16 victory over the Panthers.
Yeah, they really did. Interesting and kind of scary news on J.J. Watt with the AFib and having to get his heart shocked into rhythm. I don't know how common that is for a young man in his early 30s. I thought Frankie Louvu was all over the place for the Panthers, even had that pick 6, but that was it. The Panthers scored 9 points on offense. 9. Baker Mayfield, it felt like he had a million balls bad at the line of scrimmage. Zach Allen had a bunch. J.J. Watt had a big one that Gardeck intercepted, almost took for a touchdown. That was kind of the clinching play, the Gardeck interception. Kyler Murray much better in the second half, as usual.
Packers defeat the Patriots 27-24 in overtime. Green Bay has now won 15 consecutive home games. This dates back to week 10 of the 2020 season.
Wow. Isaiah Wynn was smoked twice by Rashawn Gary. Then he got benched, the right tackle for the Patriots. He's been a disappointment. Not sure what's going on there. Hoyer was out. Bailey Zappi comes in. I thought he did okay. Threw a controversial touchdown to Devontae Parker. It should have been a delay of game. Rodgers also threw a bad pick 6 to Jack Jones at the end of the first half. But he was a lot better in the second half. And the Packers, boy, that would have been a bad loss for them. Really bad loss at home to Bailey Zappi. Kudos to the Patriots. They had a really nice plan. They did about all they could to try to win that game.
Raiders get their first win of the season, 32-23 victory over the Broncos. And that's to Josh Jacobs' 2 scores and Meek Robertson's 68-yard fumble return and Max Crosby's 2 sacks.
Yeah, Crosby was awesome. The Amik Robertson touchdown on the Gordon fumble was the difference really in the game. Broncos gets worse. Randy Gregory got hurt. Javonte Williams got hurt. I thought the Broncos offense was actually better. Some of the throws to Judy and Hamler, it was a little bit more tolerable, but still not good enough. The game was won, I thought, by Josh Jacobs have an awesome game for the Raiders, and even Derek Carr running a couple times when he had to.
And finally, on Sunday Night Football, a rematch of Super Bowl 55 in Tampa. This time, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Bucs 41-31.
Well, the rookie running back from Arizona State, Rachaad White, fumbles the opening kickoff. Chiefs have a touchdown less than a minute into the game. That did not bode well for the Bucs after that. I'm very impressed by Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. That dude is not messing around. I mean, he runs angry. Mahomes had so many ridiculous plays in that game. He is absurd. Just absurd. Love the red zone package for the Kansas City Chiefs. Brady almost passed the Bucs back into the game to Mike Evans, but just not quite enough because the Bucs defense, which had been amazing this year, could not get a stop. Two things to be notable. Brady got banged up, but it sounds like he's okay. And Cam Brate, it looked like maybe he took a head injury, goes out of the game, comes back in, and then at halftime gets ruled out. He should not have been able to come back in the game. I mean, what are we talking about here? That, right after the Tua stuff, Cam Brate goes back in the game, and then he gets ruled out? What if he suffered another concussion after the first one? Like, what are we doing? Frustrating on the heels of what had just happened. Shout-outs are in order. We got a bunch of them. Vision Comics with an X. Backofficescheduler.com. Evergreen Economics. Go-Bengals.com. Steakhousesports.com. Human.nyc.com. Sporticulture. Pizza Boy Brewing. And myfrontpagestory.com. College draft in a little bit. Even money and power rankings tomorrow. Have a great week, everybody. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.